Welcome to Biker Life Radio with Chuck-n-Deb, heard each Wednesday afternoon at 4 p.m. on 1490 AM WWPR. And now, here's Chuck-n-Deb.
Hi, I'm Chuck
and Deb,
and welcome to Biker Life Radio. We are so truly grateful and thankful that you've joined us today. We have a fantastic show lined up just for you.
Biker Life Radio is for those who are inspired to ride and those who inspire others to ride. We are here to reveal the truth behind the motorcycle mystique and bring real-life stories that will help you discover your purpose, achieve true freedom, and define your destiny. Today's show sponsors are Tony and Guy Hairdressing Academy out of Colorado Springs, Colorado, and Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And an additional special sponsor is the El-Melvins Mexican restaurant in the heart of downtown Sarasota. So if you're ready to crank up your engines, put the chins in the wind, knees in the breeze, and your seats in the saddle, then let's get rolling.
All right, let's kickstart the show as we do here. And let's go ahead and, Deb, I've got to give kudos to El-Melvins.
Absolutely right. They're an amazing team that they've got assembled there.
I'm telling you, we got treated so well yesterday afternoon. It was just unbelievable. Probably the best we've ever been treated at an establishment.
Absolutely. And so if people don't know who and what we're talking about, this is the old Two Señoritas location in the heart of downtown Sarasota at 13555 Main Street. It is now El-Melvins. And we were able to meet one of the owners, Mitch, and his business partner, Matt. They have the business, the restaurant. And it was a really great conversation to get to know Mitch a little bit. And as we mentioned that we were on, we actually have a radio show about motorcycle riding. He revealed the mystique behind him, which you would never know, is that he actually rides one of those Ice Bear motorcycles.
Yeah, and if you've ever seen one of those, maybe you haven't, but what they are, they're really small, like...
very low to the ground is how I would describe it, so... Very
low, and then the back wheel sticks out a little bit, so they're like a mini bike almost,
right?
But a lot better, obviously.
Correct.
So, but they're pretty cool. I would have loads of fun on them, for sure.
Yeah, now they're actually from the Ocean City, Maryland, or he is from the Ocean City, Maryland area, and he said they are just all over the place up there, and that's kind of because he actually lives fairly close to the restaurant. It's an easy kind of commute to work on his Ice Bear and loves it. It showed us some pictures of it. It's pretty cool. So I'm excited. You know, he's a rider too in his own sense.
It's neat when you run into riders that you don't expect to. And he actually equated his bike to like a ruckus, one of those Honda ruckuses, I think is what they're called.
Yeah, I think that's what he said. Yeah.
So that was pretty neat. We were able to do that. And as Deb always does, she always jumps ahead of the story because we started telling you what a great afternoon and good time we had, and the service was outstanding at El-Melvins. And the thing is Jeb jumped ahead because we didn't meet Mitch until later after we'd been there for a little bit. We got in there. It was nice. We sat down. They redid that place. It looks beautiful. Looks really a lot better.
Phenomenal.
Like Deb said, the lighting is wonderful. There's no weird smells. Two Señoritas have been there forever, it seemed like.
Right.
And so we noticed that over at the bar was a bartender that we knew. Imagine that, guys.
I know. Can you imagine? So,
and it was, we knew it by Lucas, but he goes by Luke. And so we went over there just to say hello because we hadn't seen him in a while. Shook his hand, had a nice conversation. And I'm telling you, I'm going to brag a while. So if you guys don't like this, then that's just too bad because every once in a while, you've got to give people credit where credit is due.
Absolutely.
And Luke did a superior job. Luke always does a superior job when he provides service.
Yes.
And that's what I find quite interesting about Luke. He loves what he does. He loves to be of service to people.
Yes.
And you can just tell about every small detail that he provides. And I'll give you a few of those. For instance, I had spilled some salsa on the table, and I went to wipe it up with our napkin. And he said something, "Oh, you beat me to it." He was going to wipe it up for me.
Right.
And then what he did is we had two other tables on the table, two other napkins on the table, and he undid both of those, basically saying, go ahead and use these.
Correct.
So he undid those, had those out ready to go. I'll give you another one. He gave us a bag that we needed for our food at the end.
Absolutely,
which
right.
was detailed. Just, here you go.
Just the fine details that not everybody notices.
It's the things that people, I think you would notice if you don't get them a lot.
Correct.
And that's why we just had such an outstanding visit there at El-Melvins.
Yes. And the other thing that was just amazing to me is when our chips and salsa came that we'd ordered, he had sprinkled them with lime juice and had done some sea salt on them too to give it a little extra flavor. Again, just the little touches that we unfortunately become accustomed to accepting as normal. And this was way above and beyond. But you can tell he's passionate about being in the restaurant business. He's passionate about serving others. And he's passionate about making fantastic drinks from the bar, too.
Yeah, and you've got it right. It's, Deb was talking about maybe we just come to expect just normal service. But when you have a superior service, as we experienced yesterday, that's something that you notice.
Right.
And you cannot go without saying. So when somebody provides you an outstanding service, because it really doesn't happen a whole lot these days, I think most of you guys can agree, we get service and that's what we get.
Right.
And everybody expects 20%.
Right. Absolutely.
And if you don't know what TIPS used to stand for to ensure prompt service.
Correct.
So you actually used to tip in the old days, whenever that was. I don't know. We'd have to ask Dutch.
Back in the day.
But in the old days, back in the day. Yeah, there you go. Deb, you say it.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, you would tip ahead of time. You would leave the waiter or waitress a tip before you started, before you were served. And that would ensure prompt service.
Right.
Well, we got not only prompt service, but we got over and beyond service.
Yes. It's phenomenal.
So we got to say, you ever go down there, look up Mitch or Matt, probably say hello to the guys, nice young gentlemen.
Yes.
This is their first, from what we understand,
endeavor in the industry of restauranting.
That's right.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you right now, this is a huge success for them. And it's not just because of the service that I'm telling you receive. That's just part of it.
That was one piece of the puzzle.
That's right. That's just one piece of it. The whole idea is that they've got the ambiance there, of course, but I've got to tell you, the food is phenomenal.
Yes.
Absolutely phenomenal. Now, Deb was trying to put it in writing the other night when she put a post on Facebook, and she used the word authentic. I said, I do not think this is authentic Mexican food. Okay?
Yeah.
It's very, we came out with the word eclectic. Okay? And that's the way we feel about it. It's very flavorful, very different, something that you would, I've never had anything like it.
Right.
And I just was overboard with it because of the flavors that it was. Your burrito, what was that you had?
I had a burrito, and the cool thing was that you can actually pick what protein you want in. So I had it, the burrito made with shrimp, and because I love seafood, and that was phenomenal. The shrimp was seasoned beautifully. The flavors, creamy, but yet, I don't know, I can't describe it all because there was such a blend of amazing flavors when it touched your tongue. A little bit of zip and spice. So, and I'm not a huge spicy person, but I loved it. It was just amazing. I had to totally eat it all up. And also the Spanish rice, I think, is what you were talking about too. Just packed full of flavor, none like I'd ever had anywhere else before. It was just awesome stuff.
No, I was talking about your burrito.
Okay.
That had some flavors, and I'm just so curious. Number one, how does somebody come up with this? Because it was phenomenal.
Right.
And it's, it had to be like, I don't know, sour cream. It wasn't sour cream. I have no idea how they made it. It was just so outstanding. I wish I could describe it over the radio, but it's just too difficult. All I can tell you is you got to try it firsthand yourself. Seriously.
I agree. And I think the other thing that was just took me off guard, because you don't run into this very often, is everything was very freshly made. Yeah. Your salsa, your guacamole, you pick and choose what is made into your guacamole, which I thought was awesome. So if you have a particular taste or something that doesn't work for you, then don't put it in. Have them make it without it. And I thought that was a very novel way to kind of customize the restaurant industry in the Mexican world. And it's not one thing for everybody. You pick and choose what works for you and love it like crazy.
So, Deb, what does this have have to do with motorcycles?
Well, I don't know that it has anything to do with motorcycles, but it does because, Mitch rides as well. And so even though, he's on 2 wheels, could be
Low
3,
ground,
but that's right. So, he's got a little bit of that in his background. But I think more than anything, the motorcycle mystique is that at the end of the day, we're real human beings with a passion for something. And being a real human being, the other piece of this is we happen to be downtown Sarasota, which we are not there often, usually once or twice a month. And, we stop in there for a particular appointment, and we always ask, because that area is growing and booming like crazy, we always ask, what's the newest, latest trending restaurant in the area? And the person that we go to for the appointment always has a plethora of options to choose. And this one was one of a few different ones, but it was in close proximity to where we are. And I have been wanting, I do have to say, Mexican food for quite some time. And so it just was a natural thing for us to go there after that appointment. And I tell you, it's about people making connections, being in relationship, and trusting and having those great experiences because, people, you feel something confident, and that's exactly what we're doing now is we loved our experience, and we want to share it with all of you so you can have a great experience and try something different too.
Well, I just don't understand something, Deb.
Uh-oh.
Why are you hiding who told us about the Mexican restaurant? About El-Melvins?
El-Melvins.
El-Melvins.
Because
Why
we're
are
there
you hiding
for
that?
I'm not hiding it. It's just something that you need to share. Because it's all about you.
Shared. I don't know why you wouldn't have told. It was Nicole's Salon on Palm.
Right.
I go down there to get my hair cut. What 2 I have? They have to. My 2 hairs have to look perfect, and I've only let one person do it for how many years? I don't even know.
Probably 20 years at this point. She's been cutting your hair, but she's amazing too. Gonna give a shout out to Nicole because she's not only a cosmetologist stylist, but she's also licensed in barbering. So she does for men the whole darn tootin' thing. She gave you a great beard trim.
She did wonderful.
She did a great job. Yeah, cleans up. She actually does a straight razor on the neck. She does a lot of phenomenal things as a barber that most people that just go to a hairstylist wouldn't get some of that experience. So, yeah, I was letting you tell your story.
Oh, you were hiding it. You like to hide things. I don't know why I haven't figured out things lately about you.
I love to rave about awesome people, and Nicole is another one of those awesome people that if you haven't, she's hard to get to because if you haven't found quite the right stylist, she's got other stylists in her salon, but she actually owns the salon. Nicole's on Palm. It's next to Cara Jula's. Color Julo. So there's lots of options in that area to pick and choose from. And I was just super excited that she steered us in that direction. Let us know. I had no idea that there was a new restaurant there. So I was pretty cool.
That's true. If she wouldn't have pointed it out, we would have probably never thought about it because Tunia Senoritas has been there for years.
Yes.
And it's, it's just what it was at the time.
It was a staple in that area.
We used to go there years and years ago. We used to love going there. We used to take your parents there.
I know.
So we liked really going there, but, it wasn't something that, after a while we really wanted to go to.
Well, and it progressively, I think the service, we started to wane, the food experience. It was just the same old stuff that you could get anywhere. And, quite honestly, this one is so above and beyond.
And the fact is that we didn't live very close, but now this place is so phenomenal. When I have a taste that I'm not sure what I want, I'm going to go to El-Melvins.
Yep, El-Melvins.
El-Melvins, okay?
Yep.
So one of the things that I brought to my mind when we were down there is Thunder by the Bay.
Oh,
and I
yes.
actually mentioned that to Mitch. Right. I was like, they used to have Thunder by the Bay down here. This would be a great place for bikers to come. And I said, maybe I can get you in touch with somebody over there at Thunder by the Bay. I said, I don't know if you guys could be a sponsor, this late in it. They might be able to. I don't know. But we got to figure out a way. And this is our way of letting bikers know that when you go to Thunder by the Bay, go downtown. Go downtown and check out some of the merchants down there, but definitely stop in. Check out El-Melvins.
And be sure and let them know that Biker Life Radio Chuck-n-Deb sent you and that we definitely want to make sure we continue to support them in their efforts. They're doing a phenomenal job, and we just want to give kudos to where kudos are due.
And we just are so appreciated of the way that we were treated, which was outstanding. And it was not, folks, it was not because we're radio celebrities. No. Because that just didn't come up, okay? We don't have our branding. We're not wearing our hats or we're not wearing our shirts. We didn't even look like bikers. As a matter of fact, when I met Mitch, he says, well, I think Lucas, Luke told him, he says, hey, you tell him about your radio show. And so that's when we started to tell him a little bit about it. But that's not why we got got the extra special treatment.
Yeah.
Part of it was because we did know Luke from before, but I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you again, go check out, we didn't mention this when we mentioned Mitch and Matthew, right?
Matt,
Matt. But also, when you're there, go to the bar and ask for Luke. You'll know who Luke is because he's humping it.
He's a moving and a grooving.
You're going to know who he is.
Yep.
And the thing is, he cared. I watched him when he make our drinks. The margaritas were phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, we've only got a little bit of time left in the segment, but the margaritas are absolutely phenomenal. And they don't have all that sweet and sour mix.
Right.
I am really, 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 really particular about my margaritas. And he's over there making them to perfection.
Correct.
He even tastes them, not to get a buzz, I'm sure. No, he tastes them to make sure that they're going to be good when they're served to you.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
I have to go. We have to go now. But again, check out El-Melvins
in downtown Sarasota.
You're going to love it. Hi, this is Chuck with the Chuck-n-Deb Show. If you'd like to be a sponsor on our show, please contact us at 216-7625. That's 216-ROCK. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Welcome back to Biker Life Radio.
And now we have what you've all been waiting for. The one, the only Dutch Van Alstin will be coming up here in just a moment, right after Deb tells you a little bit about Dutch.
Dutch is the author of book number 1 in the Life Behind Bars book series called Demons Rising, the story of the Wayward Scout.
So without further ado, we're going to turn it over to Dutch and Raw and Unapologetic.
Greetings from the sound studios known as Dutch's Man Cave, located in the sun coast of Florida. As stated, I am Dutch Van Alstin. I am the author of Demons Rising, the story of the Wayward Scout, book number 1 in the Life Behind Bars book series, and I am raw and unapologetic. See, last week I screwed that part up. And I am also the author of the soon-to-be-published, I'm looking around May, a book number 2 of the Life Behind Bars book series, Rebellious Youth, the story of the lost child. I think that's going to be a good one. I'm very, very proud of that one. Right now it is in the capable hands of my 2 beta readers, Chuck and Deb. And I don't know how far along they are as of yet, but they are reading it and going to give me some feedback. And then I take it from there. Then it goes to the editor and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I was having a conversation with someone the other day. I rode up to Bert's Barracuda Harley up there in Clearwater to check out his new building, and I see there's still a lot of work in progress, but as always, when I'm up that way, I go across the street to the Quaker Steak and Lube, and I got to jabbering with some guy on a Dynaglide, and he was sipping an iced tea and gorging on wings, and so to carry on the conversation, I went in, grabbed a pitcher of beer, and the bartender gave me 2 glasses. I mean, does she think I'm a drunk or something? I'm going to, drink 2 at a time? You know, some wait staff just assume, way too much. Anywho, I came back out to the patio with him. We were discussing the sales of Harleys in general and motorcycles, actually, and how they're waning and people aren't riding as much as they used to and stuff like that. Now, having 0 experience in engineering, marketing, sales, distribution, advertising, and, well, if it ain't the 5 B's, I don't have much experience, and those are bikes, beer, bourbon, boobs, and barbecue. That order is subject to change given my mood and such. But other than those 5 B's, my field of knowledge is very limited. I always used to tell everybody I was a B student my whole life. But that doesn't stop me from being an expert and criticizing the manufacturers and telling them how best to market their product. Okay, I will admit, targeting old guys like me is pointless. It's a boob without a nipple. There's just no point. I'm never buying another new bike. I don't like how Harley shops have turned into these little boutiques, so to speak. There was once scented soap in the men's room in a dealer in West Virginia. Now, forget all of the things that the concept of West Virginia conjures up in my mind, but scented soaps would not be one of them anyway. But scented soaps in the men's room. I mean, seriously? I recall that when there was a men's room, it was just a dark, smelly room with a sink and a urinal. And the key was to be sober enough not to confuse the two. And they even had a roach clip hanging from the handle so you could keep both hands in control while you did your business. Now, you know my positions on a lady rider. I like them in all sorts of positions. And I strongly believe Harley did the smart and the right thing, marketing to the other half of the population and creating a whole new genre of spicy added to the biker stew. But keep the scented soaps in their bathroom, okay? Now, as I drank more beer, I was shocked to see how fast and fluent my ideas about marketing to millennials and the Gen X people, and kind of how to start pitching what motorcycling is to that group of people. And this is a couple of the ideas we came up with. First off, make a helmet that configures to a man bun. Maybe all these men need is to know they can protect their skull and maintain a sense of fashion. The other idea was to market the idea that motorcycles are portable safe spaces. I mean, if they ride and they see things like a smashed avocado on the side of the road, or a rebel flag in someone's yard, or God forbid, a woman in a dress and a man in pants, or an advertisement for that new steak joint in the town. I mean, what better place to be when you feel triggered? You are in a mobile safe space where bad vibes, hurt feelings can be processed in a healthy way. You can't drink a latte at the same time, but you can process them in a healthy way, going 80 miles an hour. Number 3, let them know, except for the tolls. I know somebody will correct me and say, what about toll roads? Roads, in general, are rent-free. So every road they ride, the millions and millions and millions of miles available to them are just like their parents' basement, free of rent, free of responsibility. I mean, they don't have to maintain the roads, right? The only difference is you can't be in your underpants trolling video game sites. But if you market it right, riding is as good as your parents' basement and then some. Number 4, most of these are my ideas. The other guy was just kind of staring at me with a blank look on his face. I don't know why. With every purchase, give them an award, a Best Buyer award, an award that says, hey, you are special, like a participation award. Number 5 would be let them know how many differing variations of selfies they can take with their motorcycles. I mean, the various poses are virtually endless, and they'll be the envy of Instagram, no doubt. Number 6, motorcycles are vegan. I mean, true, right? I'll just let that one support itself because it's just so brilliant. Number 7, let them know there are no documented cases of motorcycles killing a polar bear anywhere throughout the world. Imagine this for a slogan. I mean, Darren Stevens has nothing on me. Ready? Motorcycles, with an exclamation point. Motorcycles. It leaves your friends and the polar bears out in the cold. All right, so number 8. Since the majority of motorcycle crashes are the fault of the other careless drivers, the concept that millennials appreciate of blaming everyone else for their problems, they can continue to do that while they're being poked and prodded in the ER and while they run morphine through them, providing the morphine is also vegan. Number 9, and this is an important one, it's a lot easier to find a parking spot at Starbucks. I mean, if you think about it, you don't really need a whole spot. You can park it near the sidewalk, you can park it near the dumpster. Okay, and number 10, I only come up with this one because I wanted an even number, kind of like, the 10 Commandments or the 10 Bill of Rights. It's that important. Number 10 would be to put scented soaps in all the men's rooms, I guess. I'm willing to make that sacrifice to see people explore the whole concept of riding and get going. I'm not going to read a question today from anyone, which is saving me giving away a book. I mean, cha-ching! I am less poor now. Yay. But I am going to answer a question because it's a repeated one that I get. I either get messages on my website or on my Facebook pages or I sell books locally at bike shows and such, and I get feedback that way. And the most frequent question is, Dutch, do you sometimes not feel fresh down there? No, I'm just kidding. I jest. I kid because I love, really. But recently at a local Harley-Davidson shop, a man I know admitted, and these are his words, he teared up at the end of Demons Rising. And this guy is no sissy. I bet he's never even drank a coffee from Starbucks. I think after telling me that, he felt like more comfortable with me. Again, it's one of the things you had to be there because it's like his facial expression changed and the pitch in his voice kind of went a little lower, and he looked around to see if anybody was listening. And he said, how much of what you wrote is true? And I always tell people it's a novel. Yes, it draws from experiences that get synthesized in my bourbon-soaked and anger-filled cranium before the fingers tap out the words, but it is a novel. It's not a biography, I assure you. Then he asked if any of the characters are based on real people, and I told him, well, all of them and none of them. I'll only discuss one, although I did tell my friends Chuck-n-Deb about one other character based on an actual person, but they are sworn to secrecy. They swore in blood, or maybe it was taco sauce, because I think we were having those tacos at one night at her house. Anyway, but the character of Mallet was heavily influenced by my brother Mickey Fitzwater. He is one of those people Demons Rising is dedicated to. I, in all sincerity, and I know I joke around a lot, but I've never met a more honorable man in my life, and I'll leave it at that. Now Mickey is everything of a stereotypical Irishman. You know, like when they're kids at the supper table. Dad, are we Irish? Shut up and drink your whiskey. You know, but I mean, he works hard. He plays hard. I mean, he lives hard. He is the toughest guy I ever met. I don't think there's a man alive who can get the best of him, and I've seen a few try over the years, and they all had buyer's remorse. And I've never seen him start a fight out of, for no reason. Well, that's a whole different story. But the overall theme is true. You know, we all hear, he'd always give his shirt off his back, but in Mickey's case, he truly would. He's just that guy. And there's one incident I write about in my book that is nearly verbatim what occurred in real life, and it's really one of my favorite stories to tell. I confess it may lose its luster unless you know the people involved in it. But anyway, Mickey was riding his bike, and first off, he and I were not in the same club, but we were brothers nonetheless, and we were in contact with each other every week without fail. And I hadn't heard from him in well over a week, so I just gave a buzz, and I said, hey, he answers the phone in anger. What? I say, hey, what the hell's wrong with you? What's up? What's up? What's up, he says. What's up? I'll tell you what's up. I just got hit by a pickup truck driving along a back road, went ass over tea kettle, landed in the back of the pickup. And he's just ranting and raving, and my elbow's all, well, watch my language. My elbow's highly damaged, and my head is bleeding, and my neck isn't moving, and I'm all screwed up. And I said, oh my God. I said, well, I'll be right over. We'll take you over to the ER. And he said, he started to calm down a little bit, and he said, not to worry. His old lady was getting around right now as we speak. This just happened like 15 minutes ago, and they're on their way to the ER. So I said, okay, fair enough, but call me as soon as you get back and let me know how you make out, because that's serious from what he was telling me. So he doesn't call me. The next morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning, the phone rings. I pick it up. No, hey, Dutch, how you doing? So I'm doing good. How'd you make out last night? He said, last night? Said, yeah, how'd you make out last night going to the ER? Oh, that. No, I never made it last night. So what do you mean? What do you mean you never made it last night? What happened? Oh, that. Yeah, that. No. When I hung up with you, my neighbor came over with a bottle of whiskey and had a bonfire going, so I went over there. And I almost, can I say that? I'll just say pee. I almost peed myself. I laughed so hard. I couldn't, and he did not catch on why I was laughing. He kept saying, what's so funny? What's so funny? I said, you don't see it, do you? You don't get it. Here you are, your neck might be broken, you're bleeding, all this stuff. And all it took was a bottle of whiskey and a bonfire to keep you from going and getting much needed medical attention. And then finally he caught on and he kind of started laughing. But that story is actually almost verbatim in my book, because it just showed what a hard-headed, tough guy he really is. And it does so cloaked in a lot of humor. It's just one of the best laughs I ever had. But the character of Mallet, as did all the characters, had a very inauspicious upbringing, and that's why they end up in a motorcycle club. And that is true in real life. It really is where men go when they were lost as boys. Mallet left behind a family of apathy and took the natural gifts God gave him, and he brought them to people who would appreciate those gifts of loyalty, honor, forgiveness, sincerity, courage. And he joined a family that appreciated what he was and gave it back tenfold. The friendship he has with the main character, Digger, comes right from here. I'm pointing at my chest right now. Radio may make that difficult for you to see. But I wrote one chapter where it's just Mallet and Digger going out for a ride. And the chapter's title is called It's Just Two Brothers Out for a Ride. But it's an important chapter because it shows friendship doesn't always mean brotherhood. And brotherhood doesn't always mean friendship. But when the two are happening at the same time, you know you belong. And Mallet finally belonged somewhere. So that is all I got to say about that, as Forrest Gump would say. Okay, don't forget to hit like on my Life Behind Bars book series Facebook page. Visit my website, www.dutchvanalstin.com. and peruse my book that I am ever so proud of. I, along with the infamous Chuck and the famous Deb, will be at Stottlemeyer's Barbecue in Sarasota, January 16th, starting around, let's say 6-ish. Come early, because Stottlemeyer's always packs them in. Come say hello to us. I will have my first book, Demons Rising, there. I will also have the well-known and mentioned in jest on page 177, Flintstone Harley. Yes, a Harley painted like my hero, Fred Flintstone. I think I've mentioned that before. And also, my Pride and Joy 1975 Shovelhead will be there. So come on down, say hello to all of us. Bubbles will not be there. She's having a cast reunion party of sorts for a series of movies she did about 10 years ago when she was a struggling actress. Something about Pizza Delivery Boy. And then there was, I guess, 17 sequels after that. Including the finale, Pizza Boy, you ordered extra sausage. I never knew she was a thespian. Huh? I know it was just acting you were doing, and you weren't. Huh? Yes, I know you like men, dear. I said thespian. Okay, just stay over there. You're still sick. I feel bad for her today. She was so woozy. She can't even walk straight. She was so sick that I had to actually carry her to the bathroom so she could scrub the toilets for me. That's how bad it was. But anything to help her out, because I love Bubbles. So until next week, folks, remember, being clean and sober only means you showered and you're heading for the liquor store. And from my faulty brain to your ears, this is Yabba Dabba Dutch, signing off.
Our sponsor today is Tony & Guy Hairdressing Academy. If you desire to be a leader in this fast-growing cosmetology industry, then contact Tony & Guy Hairdressing Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado at 719-390-9898. Again, 719-390-9898, or visit coloradosprings.tonyguy.edu. For more information about Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Tony & Guy Hairdressing Academy, call 208-930-1276. Again, that number is 208-930-1276, or visit them at coeurdalene.tonyguy.edu, or visit the Chuck-n-Deb Show sponsor page for more information.
Well, I am super excited that we have Brian back with us in today's show. I can't even get it out because I'm so excited. But, the impact is as we talked last week about resolutions, I think the idea is that resolutions and or your vision for 2020 sounds great initially, But what happens is we hit a roadblock. We hit some challenge that derails us, and all of a sudden it's either a good or you're either on track or you're off track, and then people throw it away. And what I thought was important to share with our listeners is the reason why we brought Brian back is because we've had some real life examples of people that have met with him when they hit a challenge, and you know what? Their life has turned upside down.
Oh, it absolutely have. As a matter of fact, our good friend Kevin, I'm sure he wouldn't mind us saying his name on the radio. Actually, I gave him a gift to meet with Brian and do a reading with Brian. And all I can say is that Kevin has been pretty much speechless. all he kept saying the whole time is he's spot on, he's got it, I love this guy. You know, and he was telling me how he didn't want to get off the phone with Brian, and Brian was telling him, no, we have to get off the phone. So that's how much Kevin really got out of it. And the neat part about it is that Kevin went ahead and he paid it forward to a friend of his, and Kevin got some feedback that he shared with me that she actually felt the same way, that he was on track, that he's Mr. Phenomenal. That's his new name. That's what I'm going to call him.
Mr. Phenomenal.
And that everything that he said was, again, right on track. Yes. So this is not some of that stuff that's out there.
Right, woo-woo stuff. It's out in the cosmos, and just hope that it works. But, this is an impact that it's had real life on real people. And when they hit the fan, and I know I can say that on the radio.
Oh, I'm not so sure.
You know what?
Go ahead.
Everybody, everything turned around. And there was finally, I think, an understanding why maybe that was going on at that time. And then some of the things I think that we'd really like to talk to Brian about today is how to get beyond that. And so how the impact of astrology can do that. So let's just go ahead and bring Brian on the phone.
It's just being life on life's terms. So Brian, you've been sitting patiently while we've been talking here, but I've said all sorts of great things about you because other people have said all these fantastic things about you, and I could brag on you all day because we've known each other forever, and you've helped Deb and I over the years immensely. So we'll just turn it right over to you. Maybe you could take over from there.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When listening to what you were just saying, I think it would help if the listener understood what this is about a little bit, like what I did for Kevin or what I did for Rhonda, his pay it forward lady.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit last week about an owner's manual. You get the car, you get an owner's manual, or you get your bike and there's an owner manual. And also, I spent 20-something years as a builder, and there's a blueprints that come along before you could build a building. Well, if we look at, there's a thing called an astrology chart. And if we look at the astrology chart, personal chart, based upon the individual, it is the owner's manual or the building blueprints or whatever you want to call it. You call it a script of life. And what I did with Kevin, I'll just stay with Kevin, right? Just stayed with Kevin, and I had his chart. And what the chart is, it's a funny looking thing. I mean, it's a weird thing that it's not in English at all. It's all in icons and symbols and everything. And I just happen to have a gift to be able to interpret it. It would be like if somebody picked up the script of their life and it was in German and they didn't read German, they'd find somebody who could read German to read them their script. So I have this ability, and it's what the birth chart is on, and I'll speak to the listener directly. On the day that you were born, all the planets were aligned up in a particular place in a particular signs, and they were sending their energies down to Earth. Sounds like a little weird, but if you think of the sun, what does the sun do? It sends its rays down to us, and we live off of that sun ray. So the other planets have functions and utilities. So they're sending down this information. And all the utilities, like we talked a little bit about, Venus is love, the moon is emotion. Let me just be quick with this. There's a whole bunch of information coming towards you at the moment of you take your first breath, and you're imbued with all this energy. And by seeing where the planets were and having a chart that I do runs up, it tells me a lot about you. Right? It tells me how you think. It tells me how you feel. It tells me what you're good at, where your strengths are, where do you challenge, what kind of career you want, what kind of partner really works for you. It gives me a whole plethora of ideas. All right. So I'm sitting there. A way to look at it is, suppose Kevin was ill and he was in the hospital, right? Mm-hmm. And he's laying there, and the doctor comes in, and what does the doctor do? He goes to the end of the bed and he pulls the chart up and starts looking at the chart. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not claiming to be a doctor, nor do I want to be one. But there's the birth chart. I take a look at that birth chart, and I started talking to Kevin, and we had a conversation. And what I said to him was, we're going to go through this information. We're going to explore it, right? We're going to discover more about you, right? And if I'm saying things to you that it doesn't feel right, doesn't resonate, doesn't ring a bell, or it's wrong, tell me. My vested interest is not in being right, it's in his truth. Mm-hmm. So we started to explore Kevin, who Kevin thought he was versus who Kevin really is. Right? And so, well, you got the feedback from Kevin. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. It's a participatory thing between I and Kevin and the chart. And I read the chart and we talk about it, and we go to different places and I ask him questions. It's just not me downloading a bunch of information. It was what I said to him. It's just like he and I sitting down having a cup of coffee, right? Or having a bottle of beer at the bar or whatever, and we got a cheat sheet. Yeah. And that's what astrology is. It gives us an inside glimpse at who we are, so we can be happier and we can correct the things we need to correct. I had a client just a little while ago on the phone, and she called and I did the same thing with her. We did it all over the phone. I do this all over the phone. And we looked at the chart. We talked about it. We saw, she says, this is what's going on. We look and we find ways out of it that's best for the human being. See, I really believe that we're not privy to all the information that our life really holds for us. And what this astrology chart does is help us get a little bit more understanding, get more into it, so we can live a better life. And you guys, like you said, I don't want to think of how long you've known me. I really don't.
A good long time.
But you've seen what this work does, and it's not anti-Christian. It's not anti-God. In fact, it's very pro-God because God created the planet.
Right.
Yes. It's not the woo-woo stuff that you think. It's science, but it's meta-science. And the science that says, how does the planet way up there doesn't affect us, that's old physics. Mm-hmm. Newton was the guy that's the physics we use. And now we know we have quantum physics, right? Yes. And now science is exploring nanophysics. Mm-hmm. Well, this is just beyond nanophysics. It's called metaphysics. And I just happen to have this gift, I guess. I didn't ask for it. You know that. I told you that story.
That's right.
So what I look to do with people is to make life real and just to help them understand who they are, and what they're doing. There are three things in life that I've seen after doing this so long with thousands of charts. I can put life into three categories: the being, the doing, and the having. Might have said this last week. I don't know.
It's all right. It's worth repeating.
But what we tend to do is think of what we have to have. We have to have a roof over our head, transportation, food in our mouths. So we go get a doing. We go get some kind of job. But nobody ever teaches us, nor do we think about the being. Well, if we don't understand our being, how the hell are we going to get something that really works for us? What kind of job are we going to get? But when we understand how the being wants to express itself, then we have more fun doing that at the job or whatever the career. And then we have our having organically. It's a play. Everybody out there, you have a play. You're the star of your play. That's the bottom line. And so what the chart is, it's called a birth chart or a natal chart. This is very specific to you at your day of birth, your moment of birth. So it allows us to take a deeper look into who you are. And the sole purpose of this is for you to live a fulfilling, happy life.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. And I kind of relate that to, as you were talking, as a roadmap of what our life is designed to be. That's the being part of it. And I think we miss that mark, like you mentioned, and we get off track. And so with reconnecting with the roadmap and our destiny, our being in life,
The
then,
soul,
that
maybe.
kind of puts us back on track to go where we need to go. And that's just how it works in my brain to make sense of that. And we all get off track from time to time, or,
Life happens.
head down a way that we're not designed to really be, and it doesn't feel right, but we don't know how to get off the road and take another route.
Yeah, well, we could get knocked off the road, and we also have patterns, patterns of situations that take place. An example, we know when we're born, we have DNA. We have the DNA of our parents, right? But we think of that in terms of our body more than anything else. But we also have the DNA of the spiritual realm, or the psychological and emotional DNA. We all of us, every one of us, has the dance of our parents' marriage in our head. We're a little bit of dad, we're a little bit of mom.
All right.
Right? And what we have is we take down their patterns. We know we take in their patterns, and that's what daddy does. That's how mommy feels. And we download it. And I'll tell you a little story. It's called the ham story. All right? Did I tell that last week?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. It's the ham story. And in this, there's 4 generations of women. It's Christmas time, and they're having Christmas dinner. They're going to have Christmas dinner. And this family, there's the bride, the mother, the grandmother, and the great-grandmother, the grand dame. All right? And it's the bride's first Christmas as a bride, having her own place. So they have Christmas at the bride's place, and she's going to make the ham. Family is notoriously known for having ham. So she prepares the ham just like she saw her mother. And she's just about to put it in the oven. And she remembers she has to cut the end of the ham off, just slice a little bit of the ham off. And she thinks about it, and she says, I know why I did every other thing with this ham, but I don't know why I sliced the end of the ham off. The only thing I could think of is my mother did it.
Yep.
So she calls Mom into the kitchen. Mom comes into the kitchen. The daughter goes through the whole thing. She said, why did you cut the end of the ham off? And Mother thinks about it and says, I don't know. That's the way my mother always did it. So they got Grandma. They brought Grandma into the kitchen. Right, two generations now asking the same question to Grandma. And Grandma thinks about it, and she says, I'm not really sure. That's the way my mother always did it. So they call the grand dame into the kitchen. 3 generations of women trying to figure out why did you always cut the end of the ham off? And the grand dame looks at him, shakes her head, and just says, so it would fit?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Now that that's how we inherit. It's called the sins of the father. It doesn't mean essentially dad. We inherit stuff. There's a pattern. That's how they always do it in the O'Reilly family. Or this is how we do it in this family. Well, why? Exactly. And a lot of times people want to break out from those patterns, and they don't even know what the pattern is for sure, but they know that life just not real good right now.
Right.
Something's bugging me. So that's the benefit of it. There's so many benefits of astrology. Right. But that's what I did with Kevin.
Yeah. And I think what I can see, Brian, is that by helping somebody with this, they're able to get in touch with who they are. So I know we started to talk about, people struggle in life situations happening. And this is just sort of coming to me as I'm talking here, is that you are able to show them who they are. And so the closer in touch of who they are is that when they have struggles, that you can actually help them to where they'll be able to not focus on the struggles, but the more positive things and aspects about their personality or character traits. Does that sound right?
Sounds absolutely right. I believe I talked about this last week. We don't want to water the weeds. We want to water the flowers.
Right.
Right.
People trip over their problems, and they should just say, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And you were going to say something about that.
Yeah, because what we focus on expands.
And in addition to that, we try sometimes so hard to get better at something we're not technically designed to be good at, rather than focusing on our strengths and the things that we're excellent at and just getting better and better at those.
Sometimes we could just try too hard, just too hard. You know, so I think we've all been in the flow. Everybody on listening has been in the flow of it's just easy. Everything flows and it's wonderful, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a thing called the paradoxical intention. And the paradoxical intention is you want something so badly, you actually stop yourselves from getting it. You prevent yourselves from getting it.
Push it away.
And one of the metaphors, the analogies for it is the physical orgasm. Everybody likes it, right? But nobody's ever been able to force one. We can't force it. And the harder we try to do it, what do we have? The less and less it happens. Right? So we're really trying hard to get this thing we really want.
Yeah.
Well, let's back away from it a little bit and say, what do we have to do? How do we get an orgasm? Man, we have to surrender. We have to let go. We have to chillax.
Yeah,
you know,
chillax.
We have to wallow in it. We just chill, baby, and let it come. And what do we get? We get pleasure.
Yep.
So sometimes we're beating our head up against the wall for trying to force something that's not going to come to us.
It's so true. And that's what we're talking about here is how you were able to help Kevin and Rhonda and many different people all around the world. And by doing so, it's just by giving them a little bit of insight about themselves, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, actually, it's a lot of insight because we're complex. We're complex. We're complex individuals. I'll tell you what Rhonda says to me. Rhonda's, I don't know if she's listening and she minds, but nobody's really going to, who Rhonda is, not going to go knocking on her door or anything.
Right.
But Rhonda told me she's been to therapists her whole life. And she says in the hour and change that we talked, we got through all the stuff that the therapist didn't even touch.
Oh, goodness.
Good.
Right? That's exactly what she said. She said, you helped me more than all those years. Why? It's not me. What I'm trying to really express is, I have the gift to do this, but I look at their birth chart and I'm able to read it and give them guidance based upon that. Mm-hmm. It's really, we have to wake up to the gift of astrology. And I believe that the planets are gifts from God to help us live our life. And if we pay attention, they do. But we have, and I told you guys when I was first introduced to astrology, man, you couldn't have got a bigger skeptic.
Yeah, you were in construction then, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't believe in that crap. What are you talking about? It wasn't until the caca hit the fan that I was looking for answers that I got exposed to it, and I said, "Wow, these are some of the things I really needed to know." Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's tons of things that people need to know, and sometimes we're just not aware about how to find the answers.
Right.
And that's part of the reason we want to continue to bring you back on the show, so that when people are looking for answers, they'll know where to find you.
Absolutely right. So I know we're kind of cutting it close on time once more.
It's always
and
close
we love
on time,
having you on. So Brian, if you would kind of wrap it up by letting our listeners know how they can get in touch with you to kind of when that caca hits the fan, they have a resource to reach out to.
Yeah, because that's really important. Because once things start to happen, you have a lot of different resources, and sometimes maybe you need to reach out to a resource that maybe you haven't tried before. Correct. Because as Rhonda said, and I know Kevin has had some of the same things going on too, and he was able to reach out, and actually Brian just, Kevin today is a different person. That's all I got to say. Kevin is not the same person that came to visit us a month ago. He's a totally different person.
Right.
Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
Well, what Kevin is Kevin now.
There you go.
That's a great way to describe it.
That is the
Kevin
truth.
is Kevin.
Yes.
If they want to get a hold of me, they could go to my website. It's an old website. It's not current or anything, but they'll get enough information that they need. And it's Brian, BRIAN, A, that's my middle initial, and Hill, Hill. So it's brianahill.com. That's it. And they could see who I am. My email is BH, like Brian Hill, and then the word whale, WHALE. So it's BH Whale. And the whale is for, the W in the whale is for our wealth. It's for our things. The H is for our health. The A is for our attitude. The L is for our love and relationships. And the E is for our expression. It's our jobs, careers, etc. So when we got this all together, we have a whale of a life.
Love it. And I'm glad you went ahead and went forward to explain that, because we were on the same wavelength. I was going to ask you to explain that to us, so I'm glad you did.
Cool. Thank you. And so it's bhwhale@yahoo.com. And you can text me at area code 941-320-7090. 941-320-7090.
Wonderful.
That's it.
All right, fantastic. Well,
wish we had a little bit more time. We're going to keep having Brian come back as he has time on the show.
Yes.
We really appreciate you being here, Brian. We love you so much. And
could I say one thing that might help the process in this thing?
Sure. Go ahead.
Give them how to get in touch with you. All right, too.
Okay.
So if they want, they could write some questions. They could email the questions, however they want to get in touch with you.
Okay, wonderful.
And because we could talk, the subjects are infinite that we could talk about, and they're all practical. You know, what kind of schools could you send your kids to? What kind of jobs do you want, or careers? What about your love life? Is this person compatible? How about money? I'm troubling with all kinds of things we could talk to. It's
Sounds
really
great.
cool.
yeah, it really is cool. And all those aspects you've helped Deb and I with over the years. So I know that you can help other people with that as well. And so we will. We'll put something out on our Facebook page. You can always find us out on our Facebook page right now, Biker Life Radio, and just submit your questions, and we'll make sure that we get them on the show.
Absolutely right. And you never know, we might have a giveaway. If you want to submit a question, we will be happy to send you a little something from the Chuck-n-Deb Show.
Yep, we can do that for sure. All right, Brian. Well, we really appreciate you. Anything else?
Thank you guys for your time.
Anything else? Yeah, I will see you next week or talk to you next week maybe, or whenever we do.
All right.
You guys
Sounds
have a happy
great.
day.
Talk to you
Love
soon.
you. Take care, man. So there you have it. We really appreciate Brian being on the show with us. We hope that our listeners, you guys are getting a lot out of this. When we have Brian on, we'll try to have him more often, because he does have a lot that he can actually help people with. And so what I would encourage you to do is I would encourage it to you to pay this forward to somebody else. And it doesn't have to be through Brian. Pay something forward to somebody else out there. Somebody else that might be in a need, somebody that needs a little extra help somewhere.
Correct.
But go ahead and pay it forward somewhere in life and help somebody out.
Right. Share your goodness and your blessings, your heart, because that is so part of the motorcycle mystique, is the giving heart that we carry and want to help others in a lot of areas that we do. So I agree with that. Just give back to those around you, because oftentimes we're giving to big organizations and charities, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute. But, everybody says, well, what about your neighbor? Well, what about your friend that's in need? And I love that you're challenging people to give back to those that are right next door, that are friends of theirs, that are in their closest circles, that may need help and may need someone to reach out to in a time of need. So I love that. I want to be sure that we talk about a couple of upcoming things and events that we're going to be involved in. So number one, the most exciting one coming up next week after our next radio show is the Stottlemyres Bike Night. It is on January 16th at the Stottlemyres. It's the West Coast Florida Riders Bike Night. Rossiter's Harley Davidson's going to be there. The Chuck-n-Deb Show by a Biker Life Radio, and the one, the only famous author,
Dutch Van Alstin
will be there.
Unapologetic.
He's planning to have books there and available to autograph for you. You'll get a chance to meet him. So be sure and come out and see us.
And like he said on his show there, he's going to have his motorcycles out there.
Absolutely.
And he's challenging me to try to kickstart his bike again. So we'll see if I'll be able to do that.
You've done it once. You can do it again. No big deal.
I'm a little bit nervous about it this time.
Well, what I'm more nervous about for you is riding that motorcycle on the highway without a windshield at those kind of speeds. States.
Oh,
But
my
anyway.
goodness. Let's keep moving on.
All right. So next is the Gibtown Bike Fest. That's actually scheduled for January 17th through the 19th up in Gibsonton. And then last but not least for this time right now is Thunder by the Bay. And again, we talked about giving hearts, and that actually all the proceeds are going to the Suncoast Charity for Children. And that is scheduled February 14th through the 16th at the Sarasota Fairgrounds. $5 daily gate admission, but also opportunities to tent and camp and all sorts of great things. So you don't want to miss any of these motorcycle events. A couple of other things I want to make sure.
Let's say hello to some people before we got to go, Deb.
Absolutely. We've got new listeners in Brazil and Argentina, coming to you from Spain, Portugal, Denmark, Russia, and none other than Croatia. I had to get that one out. It took a little bit.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Stay tuned next week. We appreciate you.
See you again soon.
You've been listening to Biker Life Radio with Chuck and Deb, heard each Wednesday afternoon at 4 p.m. right here on 1490 AM WWPR. We thank you for listening and invite you to join us next week.